Aloha possums. Just like the cool kids, we are 13 minutes late, as we should be, like always. So, we're moving on to week 2 now. Hopefully, everyone had a good week 1. A lot of us were looking at our teams, like Geno Smith was looking at Aaron Donald crashing down upon him with a collective, oh shit, heard around the world. But we're going to relax, take a deep breath, and understand that it is still basically preseason. So don't overreact too much. I am going to overreact a little bit. In fact, I'm going to have a very special guest on today. They've been on the show before, and we'll make another experience tonight. But we have our game previews for week 2. And as always, I'm riding with Josh and Billy, 2 of my best friends in the whole world. Josh, Billy, how are you guys doing?
I'm doing great. And I do want to kind of piggyback off what Joe was saying, not about the special guest. We'll get to that when we get there. But I do want to piggyback off of what Joe's saying. I looked at the, rankings at the end of each of my, L's that I took. And I looked at it and I had 113 points in our league, which we have a 200 club in that league. And no one was even close. And I was second best with 113 points. So it was just a bad week of football around. There was rain in every forecast that was outdoors pretty much. And at the same time, like Joe said, it was still preseason. Jalen Hurts looked bad. Sure. Do you think he'll look bad this week? Hopefully not. But at the same time, do not overreact to some of these players. The T. Higgins 0, which we'll get into in a bit. Do not overreact on these players. Do not sell these players. It is week 1. Hopefully you didn't drop anyone stupid. And hopefully everybody that listens here got Puka Nacua. So,
yeah, hopefully.
Feels like such a trap this week.
Well, I mean, before we do completely move on to week 2, I do feel like we should talk about what can only be described as like a catastrophic injury for NFL history that happened on Monday. I mean, we lost Aaron Rodgers, and I don't know if he's ever going to be back. I mean, he's got an Achilles injury, complete tear, going to be out for this season. The recovery on that is going to be hard, especially when you don't believe in traditional medicine. You're only going to use mushrooms or whatever. So that's going to make things even more harder, to come back.
They're mad, really?
Well, I understand that, Joe. And if a Vision Quest is going to bring his Achilles back, by all means. But physical therapy also could help. And I don't know if he's going to allow that to happen. So we'll see. Don't love that for the Jets. I know I was a big believer in the Garrett Wilson train. I have an entire, season-long prediction about Garrett Wilson being the wide receiver 1 in fantasy football. Don't worry, I've already mentally crumpled that up and thrown it into the trash can, called Kobe before it smacked too. It's just, it is what it is this year, we're going to have some of these. And that was a devastating one right off the top rope.
Is DraftKings giving refunds on that, by the way? They'd be like, yeah, sorry, man. My bad.
Nope, not at all. That thing is
your money is in their bank account.
Now, I called that a donation to DraftKings.
I was excited to actually cheer for Aaron Rodgers for once. It's my first chance to cheer for him is not a Packer, and then he tears his Achilles after 5 plays. So
yeah, also sad and gross thing that happened. A lot of Packers fans were victory lapping like that, like they won something, and I was just kind of like, what? That could have happened to your team for one. That could have happened last year. That could have happened this year if he decided to stay there. Stop victory lapping injuries out there. And I'm not talking about this as the fantasy community. This was just a couple of random Packers fans that I talked to. I saw on Facebook or whatever. Like, I understand memes are funny and everything, but like you seemed genuinely excited about it. And I feel like
those really are Packers fans you're talking about. So I know this is live and we can't edit that, but you're talking about Packers fans.
I don't know. So. That was just gross to me.
So now that we got the PC, it was gross. I hate it. Did y'all laugh when it happened? Like, of course that happened. Like, of course.
It just seemed like a Jets situation to happen for sure.
I laughed.
I was bummed.
I laughed because I was like, you know what? Of course that happens to the Jets. Of course they trade all of this stuff to get him. They finally have a hope. They finally have the best quarterback in 30 years. I don't even know what their last good quarterback was. And this happens 5 plays into the season. That's just, you can't write that, man. Like the NFL script writers had a ball writing that one, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I wonder who he pissed off in that office to have that one happen.
I don't know, but that was bad.
It's really just an unfortunate setting, though, all around. Like, I mean, I as a person who traded Aaron Rodgers in a dynasty league and flipped him, and what looks like his last year in the NFL. I'm very happy about that situation because I have a quarterback who's healthy. But at the same time, it's just like I like Aaron Rodgers. I've had him on my team for like 7 years now in that dynasty league, and I really like watching Aaron Rodgers play football. And it's just we are missing out. Like you don't know how much more of these greats we're gonna get. You know what I mean? Like we had Tom Brady for like our entire adult life at this point. It seems like so. And like Rodgers, I mean, it's the passing of a torch to this new generation, and it is sad. Hopefully, he can come back and be healthy next year. But I mean, honestly, it's a long road ahead.
For sure.
I really just feel bad for Jets fans.
Yeah, the hype, and then the money you spent on the Rodgers jersey that you may never even get to wear again. Confidently,
that team is so built, though, so built. Their line kind of sucks, but
yeah,
all they needed was Aaron Rodgers to play, and I feel horrible for Jets fans. I can't even imagine what you're going through right now.
Yeah.
For sure.
I have a healthy quarterback.
I'm gonna. Well, yeah, we'll get to that. All right, to segue. Oh my God, on one leg. To segue a little bit into the overall quarterback discussion, I just want to go through all of the new quarterbacks that signed new big deals this past weekend and how just devastating they were. So we'll start with Joe Burrow. Signs the biggest contract in NFL history, and then proceeds to have the worst game I've ever seen from a player. I don't really understand what was going on there. The Browns are a good defense. They probably shouldn't be that good, though. Lamar signs a contract. Struggles against Houston. He's running with the ball, but he's running very lackadaisically. He fumbled the ball like on a play that he probably shouldn't have. Daniel Jones, they signed him to a contract. We all on this podcast said it was a big mistake to sign him to that contract. They go out and lose 40-0. They don't look like were even. I don't even think not ready they just don't look like they were even understanding what sport they were playing. So it's kind of it was a bad offseason for new quarterbacks in new places, I think, because kind of some rough starts.
There's happy things on the horizon. They'll get better.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, once again, it was rainy in most of these football games. I think that we're going to have better performances. A lot of people didn't play in the preseason, i.e. Jalen Hurts. That was one of the first things Sirianni said in his press conference after the game was, man, maybe next year we're starting our starters for at least a drive just to see what happens, so.
By the way, I have the utmost respect for Sirianni, but after that press conference today, which I'm going to get into on my running backs, but fuck him for that. Seriously.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, they're the first game to talk about, so we can just jump right in on that. So I'm gonna start this off just because I am the Eagles fan, or one of the Eagles fans on this podcast. Sorry, Bill, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm not gonna talk about the quarterbacks. I'm not gonna talk about players. I just want to talk about the Eagles. That was an ugly game, and as a fan, it was tough to watch, but we did see some bright spots. This defense is still going to be really phenomenal and is going to shut people down late in games. Especially, it was nice to be in a close game for that reason, to see what our defense can do. They needed like 8 yards at one point to keep the game going or get the touchdown. So Eagles continue to be a good team. Do not worry if you have these Eagles players on your team. You're going to be fine in the future, except for maybe Joe's people that he's covering. So, Bill, get right into it.
All right, let's get into the quarterbacks. One is Jalen Hurts. We're going to go ahead and just, we're going to say he's a start this week for sure. He kind of got off to a rough-ish start, but I'm just going to go with it was game one, new OC. I think there's, no running back to speak of other than Gainwell, who I'm pretty sure Jalen Hurts knew couldn't be the starting running back. So I'm just going to hope that week one was kind of a fluke. Maybe the Patriots are better than we thought maybe going into the season, and that was just all, put that in the past. So go ahead and start him, and then obviously Kirk Cousins. It's technically prime time Thursday night. It is on Amazon, so I don't know if that counts as a super prime time game. But nevertheless, it's Kirk under the bright lights, so if there's any chance for him to fold, he like a lawn chair, he's going to do it. So you're going to probably have to play him, but just be cautious.
I hope you don't have to, because it's going to be rough for him. He was looking rough last week, and I can't imagine
could have picked somebody else up.
Yeah, Eagles deep. So, Joe,
He's
get into
gonna
the
ride
running
it.
backs.
He's
What's
gonna
exciting about the running backs in this game?
Not a whole lot, man. So starting with the Vikings, Madison's gonna have better days. He saw the workload that you want to see. It's not the right time to throw him right back in your lineup though on a short week with a vicious defense. But I mean, I don't know. After watching the running backs this last week, what other options you would have? So you might very well have to start him. I'm just not happy about it. Ty Chandler could see a lot of receiving work in this one. I really am excited to see that if we do see him start cooking there. So definitely a guy to mention, maybe to pick up before waivers next week. And then you get the Eagles. So Gainwell out with the rib injury. And then you have Nick Sirianni comes out today and says Swift will be in the role sometimes where he carries all of the load and sometimes like he was last game. Thanks, Nick. That was so helpful. Thank you so much for that. I think with Gainwell missing this game, Swift makes a lot of sense. You can start DeAndre Swift. Vikings are not stopping anybody on the ground here. So it's just a risky proposition. So I don't really like the running backs in this game. But it is the only game that has a clear weather forecast. So
Can I be honest? I think the time to sell Alexander Madison is now. Like, this is it. You're probably going to get this game out of him. I would get rid of him after that. I don't like what I saw on Sunday. Don't like what we're probably going to see against the Eagles D-line. And if you can sell him for anything, at least in Dynasty, it's probably time to start thinking about it. Just saying.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that he's meeting the Eagles week 2 because after that really lackluster performance week 1, then meeting one of the best defenses, or at least run defenses in the league. Obviously, pass defense looked bad with Mac Jones torching us. But I completely agree. But I don't think you're selling him before this game, which is unfortunate. So you're hoping for a better week 3. Let's just put it that way. But I will say, I do think Swift is startable here. I think this is all just Sirianni being coy. He marked all the running backs as running back 1. Then he used Gainwell, which, I mean, there was a lot of analysts out there that really knew that Gainwell was going to be the guy. I didn't believe it personally. I'm happy they're actually finally using him, but like, why sign Penny and then have him as a scratch? So Penny was a scratch. Swift was out there. So therefore, with Gainwell out, it's got to be Swift probably. But at the same time, we saw this with Sanders last year. You never know what the running backs are going to do. The only good thing is the matchup. So, and then,
dude, if Penny leads this backfield, I'm dropping every Eagles player, every Eagles running back that I have.
It's time time for them to trade for Jonathan Taylor. Do it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
I mean, fair enough. But anyway, into the wide receivers. We're taking way too long on the Thursday game. That's probably over by the time you're listening to this. Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Jefferson. You know what to do with all 3 of these. Jefferson's going to have a great game. Bradbury is out, ? Okay. So Bradbury's out. So Jefferson's going to be going against Slay with a little bit of safety help. So what this really means to me is that Addison is actually a sneaky flex play. And much to my dismay is clearly Kirk Cousins' second or third read on plays, including, of course, Hawkinson. Osborne doesn't have a huge role in this team just yet, or does have a role still, but is just not as big as Addison's. So Addison's looking to break out sooner rather than later. And the way the Eagles were torched, I really do think Addison can have a huge game here. So that's my sneaky play for a Thursday night. If you're in any underdog or any things, throw some Addison in there. Jefferson will still get his. A.J. Brown Smith will be fine as well. So
Eagles win this game, but it's close.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Minnesota, but that's just what I do.
You got to go Eagles. I want to see Minnesota do it on them.
All right.
Sorry, Josh.
Catch up on these questions real quick. What happened to Jordan? He is taking a coding class this year, so very sparing Jordan usage on the podcast and on the YouTube. So hopefully you like our faces and what we talk about, because you're going to be getting a lot of it this season. George on YouTube asked, Tua or Justin Fields?
We haven't gotten there yet.
The answer is Tua by $1 million bajillion fulfillion dollars. He may be the QB1 this year. Yes.
Quote the great Ludacris.
Exactly. That's exactly. Exactly. It's Tua, and it's not close. So yes, George, go get Tua if you don't have him, or if you do, you should just be,
keep Fields though. We'll get there in a second, but don't play him for a while.
Okay, on to the first game of Sunday that I have down on my ESPN app, and that is the Raiders versus the Bills. It's in Buffalo. I would suggest heavily not playing Jimmy Garoppolo because the Bills are going to come into this game pissed off, and I think they're going to take it out on Jimmy Garoppolo. Josh Allen kind of starting to be a shaky start. Weirdly, I mean, he's still probably going to throw for a ton of yards in this game, and I'm hoping this is a get right game for him. But he really needs to like buckle it the fuck up because he is like over the last. I think I read a stat where since the start of 2022. He has thrown 20 interceptions and fumbled like 13 times. That is not good. That is not good at all, especially when you're supposed to be the QB2 of the league. I don't know if he's going to have that for very much longer if he keeps playing like he did on Monday. So hopefully on short rest at home, this is a good get right game against Oakland. So yeah, play him.
Yeah, and this was one of the one games I didn't get to watch. That is the Vegas Denver game. So I don't know if it was just Denver was really bad or Vegas's defense looked decent. But seeing the stat lines, it looked like Vegas's defense at least gave it a little bit to the Sean Payton having Broncos at this point. So I do think he's going to be fucking pissed and he's going to go hard and he's going to keep throwing those deep balls. And I think Vegas has got a lot of plays to review that shows how to take care of those. Just watch 3 highlights at least.
Well, Josh Allen needs to stop wanting to be the hero of the game. Like, that is what gets him in trouble. He throws these dumbass passes that it's like, dude, just play, like, just do the plays like they're supposed to be done. Don't do all this fancy shit and try to be a hero. Dude, you know what the worst thing that ever happened to him was? That 13-second game against Kansas City. Because all that's told him now is this is how I'm going to beat the Chiefs, so I have to play this way. Doesn't work.
By the way, did you see when they were going into overtime on that game and Diggs walked up to him and pointed at his head? And I swear to God, he said, play smart when he walked right up to Allen and then walked away. And I'm like, oh, shit, here we go again with this.
Yeah, we don't need that.
For sure.
But
I'm not going to lie. I forgot him also tight ends this week, so I needed to be going over tight ends. Don't worry about Thursday game. Goddard, Hurts hopefully knows he's still on the team. He didn't last week. And then Hawkinson's good to go in the first game. Raiders, not a tight end on this roster you can play right now. Mayer is going to take a while to get going, I think. So don't play anybody on that. And then with the Bills, it looks like Dawson Knox is back, which
told you.
Kincaid was still used too.
Told you.
Okay, well, here's the thing, though. You know how bad that offense was? That can't be the offense. It cannot be Dawson Knox. So if they're going to win,
it wasn't Dawson Knox's fault that fucking Josh Allen had to throw 40-yard passes that were stupid.
Well, he can't be the play. So if Dawson Knox is on the waiver wire or whatever, just leave him there because he cannot be a focal point of this offense going forward if they're going to succeed. Just can't happen.
Either way, the Raiders are not going to pressure him near as much as the Jets do. George's got Kenneth Walker or Joshua Kelly if Eckler doesn't play. I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker because we saw him used in the receiving game last week. Against the Lions, so they're going to be trying to keep pace with that offense the whole time. So I like Kenneth Walker here. I don't think, and I could be very wrong about this, Joshua Kelly's been on this team a long time. If he was going to be the featured guy when someone went down, they would have done it by now. I do think he
was when Eckler was out last week. Just saying.
Yeah, but it wasn't. I think we see either they try to get Spiller in or we get Elijah Dotson, who looked really good in the preseason. I don't think it's just going to be all Kelly because we've seen this with Eckler before.
I got to disagree personally. They had Spiller as a healthy scratch week 1. I would actually go with Josh Kelly there.
Dangerous game. Yeah, Kenneth Walker, Sharps isn't ready yet, so yep.
I was just saying between the two, I'd go with the proven guy.
That's
on
fair.
that one. Running backs in this game. I think the Bills' plan is for Cook to get most of the work, and then Harris comes in short yardage and then grinds out the clock when they have the lead. Makes a lot of sense for a team that's built like this. We did not get to see a chance to see much of Harris last week because Allen was playing catch with Jordan Whitehead. The Raiders gave up 4.3 yards per carry last week. Cook looked really good, so start Cook. Harris, honestly, against this defense could be a sneaky play in daily. And then on the Raiders side, Josh Jacobs got all the work, and he gets a way softer matchup here. We just saw Breece Hall kind of eat this defense alive last week. They don't play the exact same game, but I think Jacobs is going to get fed.
He has to.
So start him. Yeah.
Wide receiver wise, Allen's accuracy was a problem in week 1. So Gabe Davis at this point should still be staying on benches. But as Billy said, Allen is going to come out here and be pissed off. But I am sitting Gabe Davis for now. Diggs is in everyone's lineup for good. And I really do think it's worthy to note that Deontay Hardy is the clear number 3 at this point, which I don't think was something that we really knew going in. I mean, doesn't really mean anything at this moment, but just keep an eye on him. And on the other side of the ball, Adams was out targeted by Jacoby Myers, which was definitely noteworthy. But I believe this was more of a Pat Surtain thing than anything. So do not panic and start Adams with confidence. And I think Myers is an interesting flex as is at this moment. He's currently the second read. There's no tight end on the field. Basically, he takes over the Waller Renfro role, which we probably should have saw this coming. I feel like we did not at all, but we should have seen this coming as Jacoby Myers is and should have been the Patriots' choice for number 2 or for their wide receivers and not Juju. But here we are. Especially because
how bad was that hit on Myers last week? I didn't get a chance to see it.
I didn't see
it. Pretty rough. It was a really bad hit. His head hit the ground pretty well. It was like basically a blindside hit. I don't know if he's going to be ready for this game. I don't know. That's very good.
I do like his role though. It looked like his role was pretty solidified. I just did not get the chance to see that hit.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I did not. I had to choose between the games, and unfortunately, one of those choices was Chicago Green Bay at one point, and then it turned into Los Angeles Chargers and Miami, which was a way better choice. Should have chose that in the first place. Sorry, Joe.
Should have.
You don't need to apologize, guys.
Bills win this game.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, on to Ravens Bengals. It's in Cincinnati. Look, you're going to play Lamar. You're going to play Burrow at this point. There's no reason not to. And then, obviously, if Mark Andrews is back, you're going to want to play him. If it's Isaiah Likely again, for whatever reason, Mark Andrews has a setback, I would probably go with a different option. If that's the only option you have, then sure, go for it. But I would think there's got to be somebody better. It's not that Likely's bad. It's that I don't trust Lamar. He apparently just loves Mark Andrews. And it seems like he is trying to get the wide receivers more involved, which he hasn't in the past. And then on the Bengals side, it's Hayden Hurst as the tight end. So I think he's still good to go. It's hard to take anything of what Joe Burrow did in week 1 as like, here's how the season's going to go, because it was horrible.
True enough.
On that. All right, running backs. Avoid the Ravens situation until further notice. I think Gus is going to be the guy here, but I would not be surprised to see any of these guys take a role. Melvin Gordon has been activated. Keaton Mitchell looked pretty good. I don't know if we see him come up on this team here. And I don't know about the Justice Hill thing. I think it's just going to be an RB, QB, BC, which is not ideal here. And then on the Bengals side, Mixon got the workload. You would think with them being down so badly, he would have had more receiving work than he did. But the Ravens are a tough defense, so start Mixon here, but it's not exciting.
Mixon was like the lone bright spot on this team, and it wasn't even that bright.
He really was. I will mention Justice Hill did start the game last week against Houston, which was kind of confusing for everybody because everybody thought, well, this is Dobbins' workload and it's going to be him all the way. But Justice Hill actually did start, so might be something to the Justice Hill thing. But yeah, it's hard to start him with confidence.
8 carries for 9 yards though, so I'm definitely not starting him at this moment. But I understand the tentative pickup in deeper leagues or dynasty, of course, if you had the chance to. But yeah, no, I mean they all had like 8 carries. I don't know exactly when that was that Dobbins went down, so he probably was going to lead the backfield, obviously. But honestly, I think they just mix in Melvin Gordon at this point. At the moment, and then it's just the 3 of them, and it's 3 at a backfield.
Houston is sneaky good defense, so I feel like people don't trust them or believe in them.
Yeah, they never do. Wide receiver wise, Bateman actually looked pretty sharp in week 1 and made 2 at least phenomenal catches. And I believe at least one of them was underthrown, probably the second one too. Lamar looked really bad. But this is clearly Zay Flowers season until Andrews is fully healthy. We may readjust here to see how this looks, but I think you start Zay Flowers until further notice at the moment, even with Andrews' potential return in this game, especially because I know Cleveland didn't do a whole lot against Cincinnati through the air, but it can be done. And once again, Odell is still nothing but a best ball player at best. I hope you guys knew that before you went into week 1. As for Cincinnati, Burrow's going to figure it out sooner rather than later. I prefer this week. And those who got that 0 for Higgins last week, that hurts. I'm sorry, but you have to start him. If you don't, he's going to get 30 on your bench. Say you have options out there. 8 targets for Higgins, 9 targets for Chase in week 1, and those targets will stay the same all year, if not continue to extrapolate. So,
Fortune on
trades for
YouTube
Higgins before this weekend.
Fortune Football on YouTube said it's just can Bateman stay healthy, and yes, that is.
It's a great question. We don't know.
Yeah, it's just that's all that his whole entire season is going to depend on is can he stay healthy for 15 games. I mean, you get your value back, which hopefully you got him for basically free. So that would
Should
be
have.
It's
At
so
least he was
crazy
at the
because
back of
at
the draft.
Minnesota he was fine, no health
Yeah.
issues.
very,
Blame the field.
very weird.
Blame the field.
Blame the field. Yeah, it's hard not to. Got the Bengals winning, but I don't feel great about it.
I got the Bengals winning. I know Burrow looked bad, but I think Lamar actually looked worse, fundamental wise.
Ish. I don't know. That was the worst game I've ever seen from Burrow.
Yeah, it was bad. But
like
I
the
feel like he
Ravens
gets.
here.
I think he gets right. It's a coming back from injury thing too.
I
Getting
can't
confident
blame you,
in the
Joe.
pocket.
Especially because when Mark Andrews is there, it's hard. That offense does cook. But look, when what's his name from Georgia got there, Todd Monken, they said this was going to be a high flying offense, and all of a sudden it's not high flying at all. It's exactly what we've been expecting for the last 5 years. Like I just so frustrating.
I just screw Lamar. Quan's where it's at. He's got that team.
Before we get to the
Yes.
next game, Carlos on YouTube says, should I put Christian Watson on IR and pick up Romeo Dubs? And it is yes. Although Dubs is questionable this week, so I hope that does not remain throughout the whole weekend, and hopefully he is available to play. But if he's available, seems like Jordan Love likes him, so
Yeah.
I would go ahead and definitely use Romeo Dubs. And put
Dubs has
Christian
been
Watson on
his
IR.
boo-boo blanket all season or all preseason too, so it just kind of continued. So as long as he's healthy, yeah. You should pick
I was
him
going to say, Fortune Football, I was thinking the same thing. Is Watson on IR? He's actually technically
No.
questionable.
Put him on IR. He said, should I put him on IR and pick up Dubs? And yeah, he is not on IR. Watson might be back this week.
Okay.
So that's still all right. Okay, next game, Jags versus the Chiefs. We are in Jacksonville this weekend. Both the quarterbacks are good to go. Trevor Lawrence, good to go. Hopefully he's out for revenge this year. That would be nice. And then obviously you're going to start Mahomes. Finally, the Lord and Savior of the tight end position, Kelsey's back, which is very exciting. And then Evan Ingram, he wasn't spectacular in week one, but then again, not a lot of tight ends were spectacular in week one. I don't love the pecking order for them, which I'll let Josh get to when he gets to wide receivers, but doesn't seem like he's second like he was last year. It seems like he might be third, which isn't great, but I don't know. I'll let Josh get into the rest of that.
Spoilers.
down there. Guys, the running backs and the Chiefs, I think they're officially worse than Belichick at this point. Pacheco, he's coming off the injury. He should see more carries in this one, but he saw 8 carries last week, and I really don't feel comfortable there. The 4 receptions were promising because we didn't see a whole lot of that from Pacheco last year. But then we got Hilaire getting 7 touches. Now, he does have the illness, so if he's out, I'd be more comfortable with Pacheco. And then you got McKinnon, who got no carries and only targets. Starting any of these guys is kind of a wild proposition. And the Jags' run D was pretty solid last week. So I would view Pacheco as kind of a mid-range RB2 this week, but absolutely nothing more. If Hilaire misses time, then you can move him up. And then for Jacksonville, Etienne to the moon, 80% of the snaps, 23 touches. He is a must start. We just saw Montgomery and Gibbs tear this defense up.
It is worthy to note Bigsby did steal a touchdown from him, and he might be one of the smallest guys on the team. So it's pretty nice to see. Well, I guess he's not that small. My bad. Thinking of the other Tank. We'll get into him later.
Yeah, Tank Dell.
Tank Dell. I'm thinking of the 5'8" Tank Dell right now. But yeah, no, he did steal a touchdown on the goal line. So I don't know if that's something to be monitored, but with Etienne getting the full workload, you're still starting. And into the wide receivers, Kirk was the surprising left man out on the offensive scheme in week 1. And clearly Calvin Ridley is the favorite. So somehow Zay Jones' role didn't change at all. You're definitely starting Ridley. Obviously, I think you're very clear. If you can try to trade for him after hopefully a low week, one of these weeks, do it, because I have a feeling this is going to happen over and over and over again. If you're feeling lucky, start Kirk, because honestly, I think he could still be a sneaky play against the Chiefs, it's probably going to be a shootout. They're probably going to have to. Mahomes is coming out pissed as well. So we're going to have some shootout here potential. But yeah, it's really just Calvin Ridley, and somehow you could actually put Zay Jones in a lineup. I think for DFS especially could be a fun extra there. So, and I don't know what I need to tell you about the Chiefs wide receivers, but until we see it 2 weeks in a row, which I just want to clarify here, resets right now. So we need, I'm not starting a Chiefs wide receiver until week 4 at this point. That isn't named Travis Kelce. You're sitting them all. They're all great DFS plays because literally any of the 5 of them could go catch a touchdown, but nobody can confidently tell you who any of those people might be. The only person I think that might be this week is Kadarius Toney because of the way Mahomes tried to prop him up after last week and the fact that he deleted his social media. It's just hilarious personally. But yeah, no, do not start a Chiefs wide receiver. Just don't be that guy. Do not see the 0 or the 4 or the 3 on your lineup. So
Yeah, it's what sucks is like
draft idea though. Off of that, Josh.
what?
I'm just gonna put the cheapest one in there.
That's fair.
Yeah,
Justin
good.
Watson is probably the guy to put in. He's
Justin
getting
Watson is smart. Justin
he's getting the
Watson
deep
looks like a
closer.
tight end, so he actually could catch something. Yeah, Sky Moore ran the most routes. Kadarius Toney didn't run that many routes, but got the most targets. Sky Moore didn't get any targets. That whole thing's a mess. And by the way, 2 wide receiver sets for the Jaguars. It's Ridley on one side and it's Jones on another. That should tell you all you need to know. But man, did they massively overpay fucking Christian Kirk now. Like that contract is
That
an
makes sense.
albatross at this point because you paid him $81 million, fucked the entire wide receiver market just to have him not as one of your starters. That's devastating, I'm sure, for
Doesn't make any sense.
not for Christian Kirk, for people that bought into the contract hype. And yes, Fortune Football, Tank Bigsby did have a touchdown on
Didn't
Sunday.
do much else, but he did have a touchdown.
Nope. That seems like that's going to be his role, is those very, very short yardage things. I think it's going to be the Jaguars, but I don't love saying it out loud.
I am picking the Jaguars if Travis Kelce is out because I think the Chiefs are a regular football team without Travis Kelce, which I said all offseason, and I will continue to
even
say.
if he's in there.
No, it's Travis Kelce. He's the game changer.
I'm just
in
on the
this team.
sunshine train, so give me
I
Trevor
think
Lawrence.
it's gonna be the Jags. I think they exact revenge. They didn't look great against the Colts week 1, but I don't know. I think this might be a game where they actually show out a little bit.
Does anyone ever look good against the Colts? I know I'm taking
Speaking
some
of
time here, but I feel like
the,
the Colts
real-
just make everyone play down to them.
Before we get into this, the real Josh Allen looked great week 1 as well. So
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fortune says Jags said let's screw everyone with that. Yep, they sure did. And they sure did, because that's exactly what happened. All right, on to the Chargers versus the Titans. Justin Herbert, confidently start him. He is all good to go. Gerald Everett, not a great week 1, but still a guy I think you should put in there if you need a tight end, because there's not really that many good options. The Titans do not start Ryan Tannehill. This might be a good week for him to get back, but there's got to be a better option than to just hope for the best with Ryan Tannehill. And then Chig, I don't know. Every piece of the math says you should start him, but then he's not startable. He doesn't get even a target in week 1. So, yikes.
he's a free agent in like every league at this point too.
Probably needs to be.
Yeah, it's rough.
He'll be back.
Hope so.
Ty Spears played more snaps than Derrick Henry. Oh my God. Does anyone
It's
want to
happening.
elaborate on what he did with those? He had 3 carries for 27 yards, 1 catch on 4 targets. Derrick Henry is fine and should see a bounce back game in this one where points will need to be scored against the Chargers. And then on the Chargers side, we got to see what happens with Eckler's injury. We're going to see a lot of Joshua Kelly if he does miss time. Kelly was one of the more interesting developments from last week, and I think he can be started as a flex if Eckler is out. I just don't fully trust it, and the Titans are a pretty tough matchup against the run here. So,
Yeah,
flex him.
if I'm being honest with you, I would sit running backs against the Tennessee Titans all year unless you have a superstar, which is Eckler. So if Eckler plays,
if Eckler
you
plays,
start him.
you're starting him.
Josh Kelly did have the only reason I said Josh Kelly earlier was just because the fact that for one, I forgot they're playing Tennessee, and number 2 is the fact that he literally played the Eckler role underneath. Like he did the exact same thing Eckler would do, especially like when he went down with the ankle injury, and it just looked like a full game. So into the wide receivers, for as much of a shootout as the Dolphins Chargers game was, it did not look like it for the Chargers receivers. The good news here is the Titans pass defense let Carr throw all over him. So I think you're firing up Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. And for the love of God, do not drop Quentin Johnson just yet. I feel like that last game was a bit of a fluke. It was obviously an Eckler heavy game, but for a game like this without Eckler, Quentin Johnston could actually be started in a pinch. And then Hopkins is the alone startable receiver for Tennessee, and that's just barely. Ironically, Burks was out targeted by Westbrook Akine, but let's see it again from Westbrook before anyone starts him. And also, Burks should not be dropped. I think that he's in for a bounce back week against the Chargers secondary that got burnt by Hill and Waddle all day. And I believe that Hopkins will be seeing the worst coverage on that one. So it's with Asante Samuel. So if anything, Burks should have a pretty decent game here, and I would actually be flexing him if possible. So Chargers win, clearly.
I think the Chargers win, but it is close.
We go Titans.
I like it, Joe. All right. We have a couple questions that we're going to get to from the chat. Philly Mike OG, help. My super flex, my QBs are Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy G, Bryce Young, and Josh Dobbs. What do I do? And my running backs are Dobbins, Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, Khalil Herbert, AJ Dillon, Zach Moss. Wide receivers are Tariq Hill, Devontae Smith, Brandon Ayuk, Christian Watson, Puka Nacua, and Jackson Smith.
Dynasty.
I'm guessing Dynasty, and I'm guessing you're probably going to have to try to trade
Jonathan Taylor, basically.
Yeah, but then he's got Dobbins that's now out for the season, so Kamara doesn't come back.
This is a Dynasty. I would try to package like Jimmy G and
probably
Kamara
have to get Hill
for a running
back.
back.
You're probably going to have to get Hill out of there and get a quarterback.
You can't. That's your only hope. That's your only hope. Completely disagree.
Yeah, but
Devontae Smith,
Aaron Rodgers might never play again. Jimmy G's bad. Bryce Young's going to take a while. Doesn't have a running back.
Do you have any picks next year? I wouldn't blow up this
too many
team.
Questions here.
Yeah, I would do Kamara and AJ Dillon and I don't want to touch the wide receivers though. I want to keep the wide receivers. If this is a dynasty, I don't want to fuck with those.
Probably just roll with the quarterbacks and try to get a running back.
Yeah,
that's probably the way to go.
I would try to move AJ Dillon because he ain't shit and he's got a big name.
Yeah. Hopefully he has a good week this week with Aaron Jones out. All right. Draco Juice says on YouTube, should I trade Lamar and D-Hop for Patty PPR 12 team? I have Reek, D-Hop, Ayuk, DJ Moore, Drake London. And the answer is yes. You should.
I would not do that.
Okay.
I'd rather have Lamar and D-Hop than I would Patty Mahomes. Sorry.
For sure. Okay. Well, you have 2 yeses and 1 no. Go with that as you want, Draco.
And no,
all right, Philly
absolutely
says,
not, Mike.
I have a trade offer right now. Kirk and Najee Harris for Devontae Smith and Brandon Ayuk. Nope. You can do better. You can do better than that. Don't push back a little bit on that one because you can do better. And then Fortune Football says all the Chargers. QJ overrated as a Chargers fan. I've been saying this. Well, we have a Mike Will overrated on this. We have QJ overrated. Apparently, just the Chargers are just all overrated.
How are you going to overrate QJ, who's going to be your future? You're going to have to take that one back eventually, bud.
We need to pin that one. All right, on to the next game. It is Green Bay Packers versus the Falcons. I'll start with the Falcons because you're not starting Ritter, and you're never going to start him ever. I'm just blanket statement the whole season. You're never starting Ritter ever. Kyle Pitts, on the other hand, there's like a 50-50 chance. He is a touchdown-dependent tight end at this point, and until they get a quarterback, that's probably all he's going to be. On the Packers side, Jordan Love, surprisingly good. Can't tell if the Bears are bad or Jordan Love's good. We're going to start with Jordan Love good, not that the Bears are that bad. So Jordan Love is startable this week against the Falcons. This is a good test. Falcons have a strong D. And then Packers tight ends, go for it if you feel like it. Musgrave was just okay in week 1. But then again, I think he's going to be a TD dependent guy as well.
I actually got to
disagree
with you.
They didn't have to use him at all.
I need to disagree with you real quick, Bill. I actually think Pitts is going to be a play these next couple weeks because Ritter's going to have to throw the ball, and I don't think he can throw the ball deep enough to throw the ball. He's going to have to. I mean, in a game like this, I really think that
he's not good at it. So
no, I mean, I agree with you on that. I'm just saying if someone's going to be able to catch the ball that isn't a running back, sorry, Joe, for stepping on your toes here, it's going to have to be Pitts because Pitts is the biggest body there. So
yes, or you can get Drake London involved.
Good luck.
Go pick up Drake London. he's out there, please.
Why would he be?
I
out
just
there?
saw the comment.
Oh my
Philly
god!
Mike said he dropped Drake London for Puka.
Philly Mike, as an Eagles
Drop
fan
J.K.
myself,
Dobbins, man.
as a lifelong fan, yes, get rid of J.K. Dobbins. Go get Drake London back. He's going to be more in the future. It's redraft. Oh, well, that changes everything. Well, ditch A-Rod and ditch Dobbins. They're obviously out for the season. See what you can build in the waiver wire, because I'm sure that's probably all you can do.
Trade Puka. Everyone's
Yeah,
on his nuts right now.
I was gonna say, honestly, especially after if he blows up this week too, everyone's gonna think he's the next Justin Jefferson. Puka might be your ticket to get yourself a running back. Go counter that trade with like Puka for Najee and just be like, no, dude, give me a running back. I'll give you a wide receiver.
Fair enough. Okay, continue on.
Running backs, Joe.
You want running backs? Okay.
Yeah.
So your overall RB1, Aaron Jones, hurt his hamstring in the third quarter against the Bears. He was celebrating the slaughter on the sideline. I think he's fine. He didn't seem shaken up at all. Watch the practice reports, but you are absolutely starting him if he plays. I do like the Falcons' defense this year. They got a little bit beat up against the run, but I think they're going to be pretty tough by the end of the year. AJ Dillon, everyone's favorite Quadzilla man, had 13 carries for 19 yards against an absolute turntable of a defense in the Chicago Bears. So he's nowhere near your lineup. Don't even think about AJ Dillon this week. Even if Aaron Jones misses, I'm not pulling the trigger on it. As for the Falcons, Bijan is your starter. He played the majority of the time. Algier came in later in the game and was used more as a clock grinder and the goal line back. It is concerning that Algier took those away from Bijan, but I would not feel comfortable starting Algier this week as I do not see them running up the score. So Bijan's your guy here. I would try to trade Tyler Algier.
I saw that the opposite, Joe. It was Tyler Algier was the main running back, and then Bijan came in at the goal line. So it's going to be kind of tough.
I hate
Algier
to say
didn't
it.
get like consistent carries until the end of the game. It was
He was right off the bat. He was getting the carries.
he
And
got
then
him right off the
Bijan-
bat, and then he just kind of
It's a
posted
complete.
until the end of
It's
the
a
game.
complete split. I hate to say this.
You
I've
can
said it
play
all season.
both, which is fine. It's just
Mhm.
neither one is going to have RB top RB overall one upside this whole season, but both are going to be playable. Both are going to be
trade Tyler
potentially
Algier
top
right
10.
now.
I would trade him too because you're probably not going to get this kind of value again. But at the same time, you're going to be able to start both of them this whole season. They want to run the ball and they want both of them to run it. So
And they're both catching passes out of the backfield. So yeah, it's going to be pretty much a split workload. Bijan's obviously going to be the higher scorer though over the time. But yeah,
still both playable.
sorry, Joe. Anyway, back to some receivers here. Love actually spread the ball around pretty evenly in week one. Dubs did get the red zone targets. So I think you're definitely looking at him the most. Jaden Reed also looked pretty solid, though. I think it's going to be interesting how this workload gets spread around when Watson is back. If Watson's out, I think both Dubs and Reed are both great flex plays and could make for great DFS starts because their value probably won't go up much with Watson, hanging around with that questionable tag. So really, if Watson starts, though, I'm pretty sure you only start Watson at this point. And I think you see how the targets shake out from there because I have a feeling he's the number one on the team. I don't think he's the best, though. So, and then there's Atlanta, and Ritter's favorite receiver is the running backs, which we talked about already. So, London, if you're fucking feeling it, but Jared Alexander shut down more, and this seems likely again. And I just want to clarify here, no, Matt Collins is not the guy, for those who's wondering. He is a speculative ad at best for the moment. Do not sit there and start Matt Collins this week. I just don't want you to do that to yourself.
Please don't.
But his arms are so big.
I actually always liked Matt Collins. I saw him out there and I was like, who is this? And I was like, it's fucking Matt Collins again. Like, we're really doing this again every fucking year on a different team.
Packers win.
Oh yeah.
Packers
No,
win.
I think so too. Atlanta can't actually get a pass game going, and Green Bay should have some stuff.
Fortune Football says, what do y'all think about the Packers tight ends and dynasty? Is it worth trying to trade for Musgrave? I honestly think yes. I mean, Rodgers barely kind of sometimes used tight ends, but Jordan Love's a whole new cat, so he might be better. And Musgrave does look really good on the team, so
It might not. I was gonna say it's probably not
Ish.
this year yet, but I feel like next year, like Musgrave could actually have a huge role, or late in the year this year. I mean, usually rookie tight ends don't usually shake out like they did last year. So don't expect.
I think he could have some value this year though, because I mean they really didn't have to use him against Chicago, and then this week he's going to have Troy Anderson if he does play against him. So I don't expect a huge game from him, but moving forward, Musgrave's the guy.
Rouge football. Mac Hollins is not the GOAT. And Rouge Rue, what's up? Oh, Rue Guru. Sorry, we went over this like 17 times now.
We sure did. All right. Seattle versus the Lions. Seattle, you are probably going to give Geno Smith another chance. That was a rough game against the Rams in week 1. Worth monitoring how bad that game was, to be honest. And then Will Dissly was the top tight end on the team. Don't start a tight end from that team. Fant, nobody on the Colby Parkins, nobody on that team. Don't start any of them. All right, Lions do start Laporta. I actually kind of liked a lot of what I saw from Laporta. I think he could be one of our big tight end guys this year. And for DFS, I mean, he's going to be a play every week. I don't think they're going to give him a very good price point. And then Jared Goff is a start. I mean, he's going to be one of the top 10 quarterbacks this year. He was last year, and I think he's going to continue it. Seems like their OC really enjoys using Goff in weird ways as far as like the passing. And although it was kind of weird in week 1 against the Chiefs, I think it was just a little rust. And now we're going to finally get going as this week goes on. I think this is a good chance for them.
Completely agree.
Agree too. So Kenneth Walker, he got that work last week. It was actually active in the passing game. 4 receptions for 3 yards, which is just the craziest stat I think I've ever seen. I do like Walker this week, though. The Seahawks are going to have to keep pace, and we didn't really see too much Charbonnet. So I'm not too worried about it. Start Walker. The fun one of the week is hashtag free Jameer. Montgomery was solid. He was a very solid, one-dimensional, old, boring veteran running back, but was very effective. And if scrubs like Cam Akers can score on the Seahawks, I guess Monty will too. It became evident midway through Thursday night that the public saw how incredible Jahmyr Gibbs looked. So Dan Campbell can be as stubborn as he wants. He will have no choice but to get Gibbs more touches. I'm going to go right back to the well and start Gibbs as well.
Mm-hmm. Sounds good.
All right, we're just gonna leave that up there. All right, so now according to Chris Collinsworth, the Lions defense is just terrible, but according to me, he is wrong. I just want to get that out of the way. The entire Thursday night broadcast was talked about how the Lions defense has been so bad last year, even though it wasn't. That people just think of the Detroit Lions in the past, basically. So I actually do think, Geno is going to have a little bit of difficulties here, but you're still starting DK Metcalf on the wide receivers, as you can see, and every week he can hit on any play. At the moment, Lockett and JSN are riding the bench for me. Although if you do have a little bit more faith in me, Lockett can warrant a start, but I am sitting him currently. And for Detroit, I can understand what people may think, and while worth a speculative ad, Josh Reynolds should not be starting in your lineups unless you are super desperate and lost Cooper Kupp and all the other wide receivers that have been injured this year. Amon-Ra, on the other hand, let him cook every single game. And as per every game preview this year, he is in your starting lineup.
JSN did get 5 targets week 1, which was like, okay. But they didn't do much for him because Geno was way off. But it was kind of cool to see that, at least.
I need to see it before I can do it. And I honestly, with the way the Detroit Lions shut down the Chiefs receivers, albeit not as good receivers as the Seahawks core, I really think this is going to be a little bit more difficult. DK is probably going to be the one that feasts the most just because of the big body nature of him.
For sure. All right. Lions?
Yes.
Okay. It's in Detroit.
I just can't get Geno yelling "oh shit" out of my brain. That
was
one of the best clips of all
hilarious.
time.
I think this is very much a Detroit game to lose because that's what they do sometimes.
For sure. All right.
Yeah, they do.
A few comments. Fantasy 101 says Tyler Alligator and Amari Cooper for Cup. I got JJ Adams and St. Brown for my wide receivers. I would probably do that, honestly. I mean, even if Cup comes back and is like 100%, I still think Amari Cooper's probably getting you at least some of that value back. And then Tyler Algier, if he's what me and Josh thinks he's going to be this season, is going to be at least a startable running back, maybe an RB2 for most of the season. I think that's not a bad trade.
Agreed. Yeah. No, I'm really getting rid of Cup anywhere I got the chance to. If anyone's trying to trade you for Cup, I'm getting rid of it.
It's a hamstring, guys. Like it's not like after 4 weeks he's just going to be good to go. Like hamstrings are not very good, right?
And it's his second one this year, too.
I know.
So
It's kind of devastating, honestly. All right, Greek Freak on Twitch says if I'm going to trade Jahan Dotson, what should I try and get? Thought maybe Zay Jones.
It's not terrible, but I think I'd rather have Dotson over Zay Jones because Kirk is still lingering about.
I don't think this is a
would
great time to trade Dotson.
Yeah,
I think I would hold on to him.
I would wait, until he gets like a couple more good games under his belt. I mean, week 1 he wasn't great, but that's also Sam Howell is it's going to take him a minute to get used to the whole NFL pro football thing. So I would hold on to Dotson for now because although Zay Jones is pretty good value back, I still think you could probably get something bigger if you waited a little bit longer. All right, and then Ventro says I have Sutton, Flowers, and Devontae Smith as my main wide receivers, and James Conner and Josh Jacobs as my running backs. Should I trade a wide receiver, and which one? Who should I target for a wide receiver too?
It's tough. I mean, I guess you'd move Sutton. I don't know what exactly you would get back for Sutton.
That would be the tough part. I think you might have to wait because if you can't trade Devonta Smith, that's clearly your best guy. And then Flowers, I think, is, has a very ascending role. I don't know about that one.
What do you guys think? Do you think there's like a package of James Conner and Sutton and get a running back, but also a wide receiver?
Yeah, I would definitely try to package someone and make sure you don't touch Devontae Smith or Flowers, honestly. Those are the two that should stay on your team. And then obviously you're not getting rid of Jacobs. So maybe like Connor and Sutton for Najee and whatever wide receiver he has. That's like a meh kind of thing. Because after last week, I think everyone's trying to sell Najee right now. And I personally think that's wrong.
You could totally flip Connor and Sutton for a Higgins and like A-Chain or something.
Somebody will trade you Higgins right now. Like,
bro, people are so down on Higgins, man. I don't even understand. They're like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. I'm like, oh my God, dude, it was 1 week.
All right, we'll do 2 more and then we'll get back to these previews. Parker says, should I start Herbert or Fields? It's Herbert, right? Unanimously?
I would start Khalil Herbert over Justin Fields, yes.
Yep, that sounds about right. Fortune says AR-15 or Joe Burrow this week. Don't give up on Burrow. It's too early. AR-15 is exciting. He had a fun game. It's Burrow. I would stick with that. Okay, back to the game previews because we need to muscle through these. All right, Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans.
And Joe, it's pay up time. Mr. Michael Pittman. You got any fireball near you? Oh, yeah, you do.
A whiskey.
So for those who weren't here last week, we bet that Michael Pittman will score more points than Michael Thomas. And while it was close, I still won the bet. So
I'm shocked that you won that one.
Good.
I really am. But then again, I knew Michael Thomas was maybe going to have a game. All right, Anthony Richardson, you are starting. Don't worry. I think he's only going to get better as these weeks go on. I do like the rookie versus rookie matchup here that we have this week, so that's going to be kind of exciting. And then Jelani Woods, no tight end for the Colts at all. Not yet anyway. And then as far as the Texans go, no, don't start Stroud unless you're in super flex and desperate. Don't start him. And then Dalton Schultz, I wouldn't, but I mean, you probably might have to.
Stop talking right after you started
that's
talking
smelly,
about this
man.
game.
That's smelly.
It's a bad matchup for these guys. So no.
Yeah. So Houston, the defense was pretty solid yardage wise last week against running backs, but they did allow 3 rushing scores. Indy was absolutely atrocious on the ground last week. You had Deion Jackson, Jake Funk. They just put Evan Hall on IR. And Zach Moss is apparently coming back. The first 3, I mean, I guess if Moss misses, then daily Jake Funk would be a really fun play. But I'm not trusting Deion Jackson. Zach Moss, if he does play, would be the start here. But I really don't trust starting any of these guys until we see more. Dameon Pierce should see a better week this week, especially after Etienne and Bigsby really had their way last week with this defense. The interesting note here is Mike Boone. He seems to be the receiving back in this offense, so it might be worth a roster spot in deep leagues at this point.
He had 4 targets and Pierce had 3. It's Pierce's backfield. It's not Singletary's backfield either. Nobody could get off the ground because the Ravens rush D is phenomenal, and it's going to be all year. So be scared to start running backs against them. But as for wide receivers, and it's, already kind of preemptively did this little victory lap, but Michael Pittman is exactly what I and 2 other people on Twitter thought he was: the only wide receiver on a team that is going to be forced to throw at some point or another. 9 catches on 11 targets. Pittman should be in all lineups at this point against a defense that let Zay Flowers run wild on him last week. Not quite worth a start yet, but Josh Downs is sneaking in to take Alec Pierce's role. 4 more targets on 9 less snaps. So Josh Downs is also going to have a role on this team. We want to see Anthony Richardson become a real quarterback before we're starting 2 wide receivers on the team, though. And on the other side, Houston has 2 clear wide receivers that they like. Nico Collins, who we all could have assumed, and 45-year-old Bobby Trees is back again. Collins should be in all lineups if you have a spot for him. And Robert Woods is one of those guys to keep an eye on in deep leagues if this actually is a thing. You're not starting him just yet, but if this continues, you're going to have to think about it. DFS is super fun, too. I will say DeMeco Ryans did say Tank Dell will see more snaps in week 2, so we got to keep an eye on the little guy against Indy as well. So
that'd be fun. I have Indy winning this one.
I actually got Houston. I have a feeling that Pierce gets cooking and breaks off a big one like he did last year in a couple of these games where it's just like a really close 9-6 game for a while, and then Houston takes over. I don't think Stroud looks great, but
I'm just happy to see the rookies play each other. Should be a fun game to watch. So I'm going to go Indy because Anthony Richardson's that dude.
Heard that. All
I
right.
think Houston's defense wins this game, really.
AJ on YouTube says, would you trade Josh Allen and Amari Cooper for Justin Fields and CD Lamb? And I would not do that. Don't trust Justin Fields yet. Can't do it.
I would absolutely do that, AJ.
Josh, you're the tiebreaker.
I think you just hold on to that until we see Justin Fields play football.
That's going to be
if it's
fantastic.
one
audio,
QB,
by the way.
CD is going to be the best player in this deal here. I think over the season, Justin Fields is going to be better.
For the audio audience, Josh was making a big decision. It wasn't what you thought it was by the sounds he made.
I took a shit, 100%.
It didn't sound pleasant. All right. Fortune, by the way, says, did I miss Joey Porter talk? Josh knows that's my guy.
Not yet. We'll get there.
Fair enough. All right. On to the Bears. Joe's Bears versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We are in Tampa Bay this week, folks.
And it's time for our guest performer. Where's he at, Joe? Bring him out.
The Bears trash can is back. I will let Joe fully get into that during his running backs, but as far as quarterbacks go, you're playing Justin Fields. I still think you're playing Cole Kmet. I still think week 1 was a bit of a mirage, but who knows? And then the Buccaneers side, Cade Otton is a good play. Baker seems to like him. And then Baker, actually, this week, I think he is a good play. Probably not the whole season, but it'll be a week-to-week deal.
Who is supposed to be better this year and then isn't? Huh? Who's a bad boy? It's the Chicago trash cans. I would let our special guest talk you through the running backs, but I'm just going to run you through them real quick here. Tampa Bay allowed 2.4 rush yards per rush to a woeful Vikings rushing attack last Sunday. The Bears line was absolutely trying to get Justin Fields killed on passing plays, but was kind of okay on run blocking, honestly. And I know that Roschon balled out, but it really wasn't until the end of the game, and it was basically out of hand. So I think we see Roschon get more involved and more step into a future role as the season progresses, but that is not happening this week. Khalil Herbert is a start here. It's a very tough start. The cool thing about Herbert that I saw that was kind of neat is Fields is trying to progress more, and he's determined to check down the ball and not scramble. So Herbert had a lot of those nice catches. We should have seen more of those had the game not gotten out of hand on that one. So I like Herbert. Rachaad White handled 73% of the snaps in week 1, and then Tucker and Edmonds split the rest. White is pretty much a must start against these Bears. It's not going to be pretty. I think it's a closer game, but Rachaad White is going to run all over the Chicago Bears, and they still have a lot to fix. So
are you going to talk about Roschon Johnson, who had equal amount of targets in the past game than Herbert did? Oh, he did?
Yeah, it was at
Oh,
the end
good.
of the game, and he looked awesome. So
I was
hope he
actually
gets-
wondering that. I didn't catch the end of the game because it was bad and I turned it off. But I wasn't sure if he it was just the end of the game. All right, anyway. On to wide receivers. The leading receiver for the Chicago Bears was Darnell Mooney. It's a really weird way to spell DJ Moore. Well, DJ Moore was clearly covered.
Take your victory lap
by
Take your
Jair
victory
Alexander. And Darnell Mooney caught the lone Justin Fields touchdown. And I just want to let you guys know this is not a fluke. I've been talking about Darnell Mooney even since last year and the year before and the year before that. Go pick up Darnell Mooney. He is pretty much free in every league. Put him at the end of your bench stash when you have to throw whoever you have on the IR, because I'm sure there's plenty of them at the moment. DJ Moore should also have a bounce back performance this week. So don't panic just yet there. I just had to do a little victory lap. And although Baker did throw a bunch of passes to a bunch of practice squad guys in the first game, his clear favorite is the big body Mike Evans, which shouldn't have been a surprise. But it did appear that Godwin is his safety blanket. And against yet another bad defense, you should see plenty of targets for both of those two and are both still complete for sure starts. So start them both. Don't be too worried just yet.
And Trey Palmer, we all were wondering who was going to be Baker's wacky wide receiver that he throws to. It's Trey Palmer. That's the other guy that
It's always got to be one.
Throw some random passes to. The Bears are going to win this game. Look, Baker's been losing these games since he got in the NFL, the ones that he's supposed to win convincingly. So this has Bears written all over it.
Bucks all day.
I'm actually going to choose the Bears here as well. I think they bounce back. I think it's a 300 yards rushing game for Justin Fields. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think he actually gets a little bit more time in the pocket. The Bucks were not sure they got Kirk Cousins, but that line is just trash. So
as bad as the Bears are, Baker loves losing games like this.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I actually do think the Bears win this game and put it together relatively nicely. There'll be some.
I just think you're underestimating how shitty this football team is. So.
I just feel like getting to Kirk Cousins wasn't hard because Kirk Cousins is like a fucking statue and can't move. Justin Fields can get out of the box, and the way he has been looking at those checkdowns, he really didn't play a bad game. Green Bay just fucked you guys up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. No, he played a good first half. The second half, he was trying to play the hero thing like he tried to do his first two seasons, and it just didn't work out. So I do think brighter days are ahead for Fields, but until the Bears show me anything, I'm picking them to lose every single week.
It's fair.
Fun. All right, on to the Giants versus the Cardinals. We are in Arizona this week. As far as the Cardinals go, you're not starting Dobbs. You are starting Ertz. You are starting Daniel Jones, but you are not starting Darren Waller, who effed up his hamstring again. It's the same hamstring that kept him out every week in Oakland Las Vegas. And look, here we go again with Darren Waller. It's probably going to be a similar thing, but there's no tight end to start on that team either. But that's where we're at.
And real quick, before you get into the running backs, I just want to go ahead and get into it. There aren't any receivers on either of these teams that you're going to start in any fantasy football lineup ever until further notice. So just wanted to get that on. This is my easiest game preview.
Yeah.
This will be pretty easy too. Saquon's going to absolutely feast. Out of nowhere, the Cardinals defense kind of looked legit last week, but the Giants are going to be playing pissed, and Saquon is going to get fed. So start Saquon, obviously. Bell Cow Connor actually looked pretty good last week. Washington has a really tough front seven, but he looked okay. Assuming they keep feeding him, he should be just fine. So start him as well. That's pretty easy.
For sure. Okay. I forgot we had to pick a winner. Giants, I guess.
Giants.
Arizona, 100%.
I skipped past it so much because it was these two teams don't even feel relevant to me. So I didn't even think to pick a winner.
Running backs are.
That's true. Good point. Yeah. See, there is teams that the running backs matter. All you NFL owners out there. All right. On to the 49ers versus the Rams. Quarterback Purdy is that guy. He's not going to get you 40 points in a game, but he's also not going to get you lower than 17 points in a game. He's always going to live in that range of 17 to 23, and you're just going to have to live with that. That's a decent, solid range of outcomes for him because you're not going to get lower or higher than it. George Kittle should be back. That'll be fun. Good to go for the 49ers. And then the Rams, Stafford actually looked competent. I don't know how that's going to look against the 49ers defense. That's a whole other animal. And then Gerald Everett looked decent. Not Gerald Everett, Higbee. That's who I meant to say. Higbee looked decent. He's still going to miss and drop a bunch of passes he probably shouldn't, but he's going to get targets.
You ain't wrong about that.
He belongs in the NFL now.
Wow, Joe, that's a big declaration out of you.
It's a big one, man.
What do you have for running backs, Joe?
Dude, the spin move by McCaffrey last week was the best thing I've ever watched. So you're starting him. No problems there. For the Rams, I don't really know. 65-35 work share in favor of Kyron Williams. It seems pretty evident that he is the guy here. Either way, I don't think you feel comfortable starting anyone against the 49ers D out of this backfield.
Not this week. Wide receivers, I personally think this game looks a lot more exciting than it did a week ago. The Rams actually looked like a real team again. Puka Nacua is the rookie that everyone hoped to grab on waivers week 1. And if you got him or already had him for the savvy fantasy vets out there or dynasty managers, put him in your lineup if you have the room. Until Kupp is back, this seems primed to be the guy. Van Jefferson disappoints as he has for his whole career, but don't drop him just yet as he could still be useful in the future. But once again, it is only week 1 at the moment. But there sure is a chance that Puka goes out there and just lays a dud. But with the amount of targets he got last week, it looked like maybe he had breakfast with Matt Stafford last week. So short answer, yes, start Puka. I feel like you can't. Yeah, this is fantasy football. This could easily be the 0 that pops up, but the way it looked last week, it's gotta be the guy. Nobody else did it. So I mean, Atwell wasn't terrible, but you're not starting Atwell yet. So, and of course, Ayuk was the wide receiver to have last week, as all of us predicted, and Purdy's number 1 target. I personally think Debo will be startable in this one as well. This is division game, so it should get a little chippy, and I think it stays close long enough for both receivers to get involved. But there is going to be games where Debo and Ayuk probably have bad games. I don't think this is one of them. This is going to be a great year for Ayuk, so put him in.
Fire him up.
Fire him up. Fire him up. San Francisco wins 100%.
I think San Francisco wins, but it would not shock me if the Rams pull off something.
Yeah, I can't get behind that. I think Seattle got thrown for a loop and didn't expect the Rams to be competitive this year. I think San Francisco now saw it. They're gonna be like, nah, we ain't letting that happen.
For sure. Joe?
Fortune, I think you got to start Scary Terry here on that one. I just had to.
Scary Terry over Puka. That is
really,
at least for this week. Look. The Puka thing was fun first week. But this week, when it's 2-2 Atwell, we're all gonna, be like, "What the hell?"
I'm gonna go Puka personally. I'll take Puka over Scary T. Okay. I have Scary T, and I'm not confident in starting. Absolutely.
Here's our fireball bet.
Fireball
Puka versus Scary T. Fireball.
I'll write it down on my list over here. Check mark next to Pittman.
Fun stuff. Not enough fireball bets.
Give me 49ers.
All right.
Give me 49ers.
Nice.
100%.
Good pick. All right. Anyway, on to the Jets versus the Cowboys. Look, there is nothing on the Jets on offense, at least for the tight end quarterback position that you're going to start, at least for the time being. Cowboys side, Dak is good to go. I think this is one of the best defenses in the league, so we're going to really see what Dak actually is this year, I think, this week. And then as far as the tight end, it's Ferguson if they can ever connect on a ball. There was a lot of targets and not a lot of catches, so I start Ferguson, but you're going to have to hope he gets better.
Speaking of fireball bets, we all need to pay up for Breece Hall before Joe gets into him. We all bet the 4 running backs that Breece Hall would, we had all the other 3 running backs in that game having more yardage. So Breece Hall, to you, my man.
Shoot, I don't have anything.
Nope, that felt good. Rodgers' injury really killed this offense, so they're going to lean really heavily on Breece and Cook. Breece appears to be all the way back, so kudos to him. Great workout regimen. You're absolutely starting him based off what we've seen. Cook's going to have better days, and his receiving role could really take off with the Cowboys offense if it clicks like it did last week. Jets defense is the real deal. That was really impressive what they did. But Pollard is kind of looking like he could absolutely be the RB1 overall this year, so you're starting Pollard all day, every day. Rico Dwaddle, keep him on your bench.
Yeah, and as for wide receivers, this is really simple. It's CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson. They're really the only 2 worth starting in this game, and you're not sitting any of them all year, so don't worry about that. Cooks is a little banged up going into the week, so there might be a bit of an uptick in targets for CeeDee. And Garrett Wilson, obviously this is a bummer with Aaron Rodgers' Achilles. but you have to keep that second round pick in your lineups. There might be some bad weeks ahead of you guys. He can't always make the most phenomenal touchdown in the end zone, but see what
He
happens.
is him. He is him.
Just to get not to get too deep into it, but like just expect similar stats to last year. It's no longer the 1,700 yard season that we thought might happen here, the breakout. I mean, it's going to be 11, 1,200. Who knows how many touchdowns?
Maybe a new quarterback on the way. That's what we're going to have to hope for if you're
Fair
a
enough.
Garrett Wilson manager. I think the Cowboys win.
Yeah. I can't bet on
Cowboys are 9-point favorites, though. If y'all are betting people out there, they do not win this by 9 points. I will bet.
Absolutely not. Honestly, I would like to take the Jets here just because of the run game. And if they could do it well enough with Brees and Dalvin and just enough to throw, because I mean, Dallas's defense isn't as scary as it looked. The Giants made it look as scary as it was.
Because they have to win by 10 for that bet to hit. As far as like the Cowboys winning, they're not going to beat this team by 10. I don't believe it.
Rouge, I would probably. What do you think, Bill? I think I go with John, though.
Well, I was just going to say, Rougeroo on YouTube says, need to drop one, Draymond Jones, George Karlaftis, or David Ojabo. I'd probably drop Draymond. I like Karlaftis, and Ojabo was really good in game 1. Hopefully he can build on that this season.
Yeah, I completely agree. Draymond, you cannot drop Karlaftis. I think this is a breakout for Karlaftis this year, especially with Chris Jones coming back. I think it's only going to help.
For sure. All right, on to the Broncos versus the Commanders. Sorry, Joe. I was trying to read what you were doing. Sam Howell, I'm not comfortable starting him yet. This is in Denver, and I don't love this game. As far as the Commanders tight end go, I guess it's Logan Wilson or Logan Thomas, I guess. Russell Wilson, he had a decent game last week. It's kind of not what you're hoping for. And then tight end wise, no.
Dulcich got injured too. He's not going to play. Troutman actually might be worthy of a DFS start, if I'm being honest with you.
No.
Okay, fine. Just trying to be polite.
So running backs, you guys probably don't have the luxury, but I really want to see one more week of the Broncos offense before I can trust starting Williams or Pirine right now. They basically split last week, and they get a tough matchup here. I like Pirine slightly more in this one, as I do think the Broncos should be up. So they really have no reason to beat Williams up too much right now. So if I had to start one, it'd probably be Pirine, but Williams is looking damn good. So kudos to that. Gibson is on your bench until he shows the smallest sign of life. And so don't even think about him. Brian Robinson is low-end RB2 material this week against this tough defense. So mostly defense here.
I just want to say Javonte starts, by the way. He is the starting running back on this team. Pirine is going to get some, but no, yeah, I'm sorry. Especially the way the Washington defense looked last week against Arizona. But sorry, step on your toes. Washington, wide receiver wise, good news for the Commanders is that they will more likely than not be losing and throwing more often. Bad news is it wasn't thrown very well by Sam Howell. McLaurin should be used more and more heavily throughout the weeks coming up as he gets in better shape. Dotson and Samuel both had plenty of targets, which is terrifying. So this might be just a dart throw, but you can't sit McLaurin with the value that you got him at. Dotson can be something that you can start. Main thing is here, it's going to be a bumpy ride for these wide receivers here. So do not get super excited about them, but you should be able to get 8 or 9 points out of all 3 of them. Honestly, Curtis Samuel's not the guy you're starting right away. And then, yeah, if Judy plays, I think he's worth a start, but I can understand why you maybe sit him for another week at this point to see how this offense grows. Sutton and Mims are both sits for me, especially unless they're in deep leagues with Judy out. If Judy's out, I don't know. Judy's the only wide receiver I'm starting on Denver if I have a choice. So it's not great at the moment. Washington's bad, but I just am scared of Wilson. I want to see Wilson do it first, more so than anything.
Broncos win.
I think this is a toss-up. I really don't care who wins, but it's probably the Broncos.
Yeah, give me the Broncos.
Fair enough. All right, we'll get to another game, then we'll get these questions. Dolphins versus the Patriots in New England. Dolphins, you're starting Tua. You're not starting Durham Smythe yet, although he's a sneaky pickup if he's available. Patriots-wise, Hunter Henry probably. I liked what I saw from him last week, and if Mac's going to throw it 400 times a game, might not be bad. And then Mac Jones is a start. You saw what Justin Herbert did to him. I expect this to be a shootout, at least an attempt at a shootout. So hopefully you see, a little bit more of that passing uptick.
Yeah. The Pats rushing attack last week was just horrendous. The Eagles line was really good. But Belichick, I don't know what he was trying to do there. Miami just allowed 234 rushing yards last week. So Stevenson is a full start for me, especially with his receiving work. Don't trust Zeke. If Zeke happens, I'm going to be so pissed off. So keep playing Stevenson. Mostert's your guy for Miami. He gets a tough matchup, and he did miss practice today with a knee, which they're saying is maintenance right now. So you can start Mostert as kind of a low-end flex option. But I do think A-Chain does make his debut this week, so that could be exciting, but kind of staying away from the Dolphins guys.
Yeah. By the way, Zeke is just good against the Eagles, and he wasn't even that good. So I would be too worried about Zeke at the moment. Stevenson's the guy, and he catches a lot of passes. But the surprise of Mac Jones continues this week against Miami. Fire up Kendrick Bourne, I think. I don't know. He's been an OP favorite for years here, and Juju is on the bench for now. That knee might explode at any moment, as we know. Waddle is currently banged up and finished with a limited practice today. That is of Wednesday, September 13th. But you start him if he's playing, and Hill week in and week out while Tua is healthy. You play both of those guys when they play.
Fair enough. Dolphins.
Yeah, I'm betting on Tyreek Hill every time.
All right, Domir on YouTube says Akers, Odell, or I'm assuming that's Chuba Hubbard as my second flex full PPR. I'm still going Akers. He did have 22 carries. Didn't go for anything, but he did get 22.
Hubbard actually had way more carries than I was happy with Carolina, but I would have to go with Akers as well. He did have a role, and he easily could get flipped on the opposite side if that's the game plan. So Chuba could easily get worked out if need be.
I think it's Akers, but Chuba looked like a great compliment to Sanders. I was actually pleasantly surprised there. I just don't think he gets the goal line work. So
I wasn't a big fan.
All right, D-Bird on Twitch says, got a trade I want thoughts on. Giving up Dalvin Cook, Pittman, and McLaurin, getting Garrett Wilson and Brian Robinson. I don't think I would make that trade now. Garrett Wilson's ceiling just got
this is a perfect example of someone not liking Pittman until he does good, and then they're like, okay, I'll take him now. No, absolutely not. Keep that. You should not be the one giving up multiple people or extra people. No offense to Brian Robinson. I understand he had the full workload, but Garrett Wilson's stock just dipped, and he's just trying to get him some price back, basically, at this point. So
fair enough. All right, on to the last two games, both on Monday night. Don't know why there's a doubleheader Monday night football game this week.
Ugly.
Very strange.
Doubleheader.
Yeah, no kidding. Saints versus the Panthers. You're starting Derek Carr. You were starting Juwan Johnson. You're not starting Bryce Young. You are starting Hayden Hurst.
Easy enough.
You're starting Sanders. It was a 60-40 split with Chuba last week, but Sanders is your guy in this. Should be a close game. Jamal Williams is starting for you against a defense that just got gashed to the tune of 130 yards and 2 touchdowns by the Falcons. So start him.
Yep. And as for the wide receivers, Michael Thomas, the biggest surprise coming out of New Orleans for the last 4 years, hasn't played football, but he appears to be back and fully healthy. It's going to be a huge headache all year watching 12 and 13 catch passes, especially if you're looking from afar at the bar screen. But you fire them both up at this point. And as Billy said last week, Carolina wide receivers are riding the bench, and it is not looking great for the Panthers wide receivers who traded next year's first to Chicago. And it's probably going to be a pretty high pick because that wide receiver bunch is not working. Although DJ Chark might be back, and I really do think that helps, but you're not starting him this week, obviously.
Rashid Shaheed should also be a flex play, by the way. He's earned that role.
No, he shouldn't.
All right. Missed the bus on him. That's fine. Saints win this. Won't even be close, I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, on to the Browns Steelers. We are in Pittsburgh at whatever Acrisure Stadium. On the Browns side, Watson sucks. I don't know what to do with him now. He's not very good. You're still starting him, but he's not going to play good in this game, I'm going to bet. Njoku didn't look good last week because Watson didn't look good. So that's kind of a tough situation. Steelers side, Kenny Pickett. Don't love playing him this week because he's a very limited guy. And then I think Freiermuth is still injured. I don't think we're going to know about that injury until Saturday at least. So if he's playing, play him. If he's not, don't.
100%.
Fair enough. The Steelers are super upsetting here. Jalen Warren's probably the most explosive of the two backs, but 10 carries for the whole team. Tomlin, what the fuck are you doing? I know the game got out of hand quickly. This one should be closer. I'm starting Najee because you probably don't have another option here. So go ahead and start him. Jalen Warren, not starting him at all. And then the Browns are interesting, man. They went up quick, and Nick Chubb had a good game, but we really thought that he was just going to get, with Hunt gone, that he was going to get a ton here. And then we see Ford getting 15 carries. If they're going to pull Chubb whenever they have the lead, we're not going to see a monster season out of him that we really projected him on having. So I really hope that this week we see Nick Chubb in there for a full game and see Jerome Ford kind of drop down a little bit there.
So while I do agree with you on your Chubb take, it is disappointing to see Ford in there as much as possible. But I got to disagree with you of the Najee Harris take. This literally just proves to me that like everyone who's like, Jalen Warren's the best, he's the best. Najee Harris is running back. They chose not to run that game. I want everyone to stop panic on Najee Harris. It is not the thing. He also catches passes. Jalen Warren caught nothing for nothing. So just
the whole team ran 10 fucking times. It's including one from Pickett. I mean,
I'm just saying
that makes me nervous.
24-yard run by Najee and a 3-yard run by Jalen Warren. So anyway, wide receiver wise, Cleveland did not look great in the passing game, but the good news is they did not have to. This game should be a bit more equally matched personally. I think Cooper, along with Elijah Moore, both had big games against a secondary that just got torched by a central rookie, Brock Purdy. And bad news for Steelers, who lose Deontay Johnson for the next 4 weeks. But that does mean Pickens, Robinson, and Calvin Austin all get a boost. Pickens would be the only one you really want to start here. And it's, if you're looking for that Monday night miracle in a deep league and you want to put Austin or Robinson out there, feel free. I would advise against it because putting Pickett in charge of your final points for a week 2 matchup is not really the most ideal situation. But I think this is actually a lot closer game. I think Cleveland does not have the defense that San Francisco has. I don't think it was as bad of an offense as Pittsburgh as it was as good of a defense as San Francisco. So I think this is more of an equal game, honestly.
For sure. I think the Steelers win.
I got the Steelers winning too. I'll take Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh has a bounce back week here. I think they just got screwed on their opening matchup. I think they're going to be an okay team this year.
All right. For everybody who is listening still here, we have a separate podcast that we talked about IDP and DFS plays for this week. So please go listen to that wherever you get podcasts. It'll be on the same feed that this will be on as well for the podcast. We'll answer Dylan's question, then we'll get out of here just because he did ask this on Twitch and apparently it was lagging, so he didn't get to hear the answer. Trade thoughts, giving up Pittman, McLaurin, and Dalvin, getting Garrett Wilson and Brian Robinson. We suggest keeping Pittman, McLaurin, and Dalvin. Garrett Wilson's ceiling just lowered way far down. I don't think that he's worth it anymore. And I think you should just keep with what you got.
Yeah, you got depth, man. Keep that. You're not gaining anything big out of this at this point.
Thank you, Joe. Your thoughts are good too in that. Anyway, good night, Rougarou. Joe, if you can hear us, can you get us out of here?
Good night. Oh, we're still live. I love it. Let's fucking go, Joe.